Hello, my friend. I'm so happy to have you with us for this episode of the Enneagram and Marriage podcast. Welcome. I love taking some time together with you to process through your healthy and unhealthy behaviors through the Enneagram. We always try to share joy here. As you know, I'm the host, Krista Harden, and I'm going to walk you through today finding your type, group patterns that help you know yourself. So we're going to go through some of the Enneagram triads or groups of three, and also each of the types individually. There are 9 types, just a little bit. And this is a beginner friendly episode, as well as an episode where if you've been here for a while, you are welcome to assess, evaluate, reevaluate, and even try to look at your family members' types a little bit more specifically now, so that you can do this with a little bit more of a tool and a growth edge piece that has some different kinds of components. Typically, I say go to truity.com for their test and see on the pie chart which your top number you score is, and take a look at the top 2 or 3. I also direct you to my typing guide where I walk out the concepts a little more conversationally, or I welcome you to take some time with one of our Enneagram and marriage coaches or affiliate coaches on our website at enneagramandmarriage.com. But today I'm adding in an episode near the front end of 2025 or whenever you're listening to just help you do that right here and now. I also feel so firmly that so many of you are audio listeners and you're just really needing this refresh. Or as I saw that many of our listeners were new this year, I said, I really need to make sure everyone, before we get into our guest episodes, which I cannot wait. We have such wonderful guests ahead. We just need this first, though. And so I just wanted to make sure we are covered, you are covered, that you know the various tools that you can use if you're this type versus that type. And then Wednesday, we're going to take a tour through the common mistypings, because we haven't done that in a while either. And you can also go back to the vault of season 1, over 500 episodes past. Be careful on your scrolling with your thumbs. Might get tired there, but also really just appreciate you being here and now for this episode. As we get started, I'm doing marriage minutes components. And today I just want to really allow ourselves to see the glow of one couple's love. Gina Zapanta and her husband, Michael Alder, have been an amazing couple with their combined glow of love and their own Enneagram types. I don't know their types, but they are out there helping evacuees of the LA fires. This is where we're at right now in culture, and they're providing emergency housing, essential supplies, and have done so for already over 100 people as multiple wildfires continue to rage across. So I love, they run the LA firm ZA Lawyers, and they just also had to voluntarily, they didn't have to, but they did relocate to a hotel on Tuesday after the winds were so bad that their transformers were out. And it was wild for them to see the way their community transitioned. And I just thought, what a beautiful moment for a couple who is in the midst of it all. Maybe not to the extent of before, but definitely still right there in it all, and so thankful for couples like this. So if you're a couple like this, if you're here in Florida with me and you were helping to volunteer during hurricanes, if you are somebody from the Carolinas and did something to this effect, it doesn't matter how big or small. As more people find out that they're homeless or don't have something, it's so important for all of us to make sure we don't leave one another out. There are people who need your specific light that you and your partner cast. And whether it's that you bring them joy or money or babysitting or prayer, there's something you can do. And I just want to encourage you. And that is my joy moment of the day, is to honor this couples, this marriage that they've decided to pair together to help others. They also have a website that I will link in the show notes where people can request emergency housing through an online form and donate money. So helping this couple is a gift. Okay. Well, thank you guys for being here today with me as we talk about your type and maybe even find it through looking at these group patterns. So I'm very excited to say that first and foremost, one of the ways that you can look at your type is, of course, through these groups called the triads. So some of you have learned about the head, heart, and body triad. Some of you have not heard about that. This is often called your centers of intelligence. And you can think of your type as, you can maybe find it today through different doorways. Like looking at this mirror will show you that. Or if you go to the mirrors at this one church I know, they have these beautiful glossy mirrors, not the ones that where you look at yourself really closely. Those are always a little scary. But the ones where you don't see all your pores, but you see the ring light sort of glow, these are not those groups. These groups are more just the type of mirrors that you might be like, oh, the room was centered east or west. These mirrors are quite true for most of us, but they're not going to make you feel, especially if you allow me to guide you here, they're not going to make you feel bad about who you are. They're just going to alert you about things that you've never noticed before, or maybe you've never thought them out before, but now that I say them, you're like, yeah, that is true about me. So these centers of intelligence are the first mini group we're going to go through. And basically, it's the head, heart, and body groups. So if you are a head type, you would be a type 5, 6, or 7. So we're narrowing you down to a few types here. You would be a person who says, I lead with thinking. I process through mental analysis. I really go to my head first when it's time for solving a problem, plan before action, analyze before feeling, and thinking through scenarios. And those scenarios often revolve around security for you and your family or you and your partner so that you can stay safe. That is the most important thing to some of us. We feel, well, if we're not safe, we can't love. And it isn't about not loving or doing. It's about this is the first priority for this group. Now, the heart types out there lead with feeling. These are types 2, 3, and 4, and they process through emotion. So they ask things like, did you check your heart first? What did your heart tell you? Consider the impact on others with their heart. They're really empathic. They are aware of emotional atmosphere. They're concerned with relational care, and they often feel the feelings of others even when the others don't share. So if you're having a bad day, they are the first to say, are you okay? And I know my daughter, my niece, my best friends are these types. And so they're just all about like calling me on it as a thinking type. And they are so gentle with the way they do it. But this is just their gift. This is their superpower. And this is yours too. And now we're narrowing it down if you find out, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm a 2, 3, or 4. All right. The gut types, last but not least, definitely, because I think there's perhaps more gut types there than the other 2 types. Whenever I do my surveys or sell products, I see this. But at any rate, these are the 8s, 9s, and 1s. So now we've made it through the whole Enneagram 1 through 9. And the 8s, 9s, and 1s lead more with a body instinct, a knowing that is just inside of them. They process through action and that kind of intuition. It might be a sensing, but either way, it's like, I know this. And do you trust your gut type of people? Of course, they're going to tell you yes, but some of us don't have as strong of a gut, so that's not our first go-to. Anyway, they're quick to act because of that strong physical presence. Sometimes they need that pause to make sure that they don't just act on gut, and they have that clear knowing. So you might hear somebody with this temperament say, oh, I just knew it. Of course, this was right. This was wrong. This is a justice fighting person who, instead of looking through the lens of safety first or feelings first, is largely going to look through the lens of right and wrong first. And once again, this is great. Sometimes they'll put themselves right in the line of fire, literally. Sometimes they'll put themselves in a spot where they're leading, even though they know there's a cost. And sometimes they'll even have people get mad at them because they're like, it's okay that you're mad at me. I had to do this because I was saving us in a different way. So I want you to assess which of these groups you felt like you fit more in with the head, heart, or body. The 5, 6, or 7 head, the 2, 3, or 4 heart, or the 1, 8, or 9 body. Now, the harmonic groups are a different way we can look. These are the ways we process conflict, and some of us do that through competency. Some of us do that through reactivity or passion, and some of us do that through positivity. So now you can nuance even farther to see if you fit here. So our 1s, 3s, and 5s process through competency, and they usually say, when I'm in a conflict or I'm trying to cope with stress, I will focus on being capable, on valuing excellence and logic straight through and handling problems through improvement. Like, do you try to perfect things and try to, make them better? And it's not that the other types don't do this, but this is a really big goal. Is I see a problem, I want to make it better, and I want to be as logical and capable and hold as much excellence as we do this. Again, it doesn't mean these types don't ever lose their tempers, but this is their go-to, is just without as much emotion or frills or positivity or negativity. They're just going through to solve. Now, the reactive or passionate groups, this is the 4s, 6s, and 8s. And when they run into a conflict, they have more of an intense emotional response. They value authenticity. So if they're feeling a certain feeling and it's not happy, they want their spouses to know. They want them to say, I'm upset. This is really hurtful. And let's work through this. And they handle problems through emotional honesty. And they want to express what's real. So you could ask yourself, do I express and feel like I need to express what's real in this moment? And some of you are definitely in this group and you just really need that. And again, 4, 6s, and 8 just value authenticity so much that they wouldn't want anything else from their partner either. And they are okay with a passionate discourse. And of course, sometimes they need a deep breath and a break because we don't want to let it get too passionate. But this is who they are. And lastly, the 2s, 7s, and 9s. And this is a group that focuses in on positivity and conflict. Conflict is hard for this group. So if we're going to have it, let's make it as happy as possible. They focus on the good. They value optimism and they handle problems through reframing, looking for that silver lining. So if that's you and you're always like, okay, nothing's going to beat us, we're going to look for that silver lining, we're going to find our way, then you're probably a 2, 7, or 9. And of course, I still want you to look at the main things we usually look at with the Enneagram, which we'll run through at the end of the episode. But these are some of the biggest pieces that you can look at as you discover as well. The last group we're going to look at is another group also covered by the late Dr. David Daniels. And this is very similar to the last group in terms of title, but not otherwise. That was more called Harmonic Group. This is called a Harmony Group. And this is a group of worldview types. So you can look at your type through the lens of your worldview. So some of us are more idealists. Some of us are more practical pragmatists, and some of us are more relationalists. And it doesn't mean, again, that you don't hold some of all of these, but in terms of your worldview, are you an idealist, like a 1, 4, or 7, who focuses on what could be, sort of that heaven triad, who values improvement and sees the potential, asking, can you imagine it better? Or are you a pragmatist, a 3, 6, or 9, who focuses on what works, what already is in what works, and values practical here and now solutions on the ground, called that earth triad sometimes for that reason. And they see what's needed and ask, do you look for what's practical? So if you are that person, then you probably do look for what's practical. And then lastly, we have the relationalists. These are the 2s, 5s, and 8s, and they focus in on connections. They value the impact of those connections, and they ask themselves, or, you can ask yourself now, are you aware of the power in the relationship? And they want to hold that power. And so not because they are really trying to be power over if they're healthy, but because they fear vulnerability and rejection. And so these are a few more of the groupings in the Enneagram that might just help you. So let's put this together. If you lead with your heart, look for the positive and focus on what could be, you might be a 2. If you lead with your head and you focus on competency and are pragmatic, you might be a 6. If you lead with your gut, are reactive and relationship focused, you might be an 8. And some of those I said might have 2 components where you agreed with it, not 3. So again, know that you might have something we call in the Enneagram world like wings, arrows, because we already, many of us who have been studying Enneagram for a number of years know that, okay, the reason that I might be a 6, even though I focus on competency, is because I have a 5 wing, that type next to me that influences me with competency. But I also am a head type, and I'm also very pragmatic and practical and on the ground, and I'm doing a lot, and I'm not as scared of losing my energy the way a 5 would, this might be more of a fit for you than 5. So, definitely understand that you're more than just the one type, and you might even have 2 type patterns here. But I would also like, before we end, to just walk through the types just to give you a quick understanding of them and have you be able to say to yourself, okay, which one of these core fears and issues do I resonate most with? And that way we can head into Wednesday's episode with a little more clarity and just help you who are still dealing with any misconceptions or dealing with questions that you have. And again, don't forget to talk with us at Enneagram and Marriage if you just need some help, because we have not only our coaches who are trained, but we also have a new coaching cohort starting. So you could even be part of that and really learn the types inside and out and how they present in couples work, and take it as a coach yourself or as a master class. And that's also in the show notes. But the Enneagram type 1 is the improver, as we go through the 9 types now. And the improver refines life. The improver refines life. They love to help others find that improvement. They fear having an experience where they're not seen as good. The 2 is the nurturer. They give love and they fear not being wanted or needed in their giving. The 3 is the achiever or performer, and they create success, and they too fear not being wanted or needed in their giving, but they really feel like they have to get there through performance. Now, the 4 is the romantic or the artist, and they have this gift of deepening connections, and they fear not being unique or special. The 5 is the observer, and they seek to understand and research, and they fear not having enough energy or not being competent. The 6 is the loyalist. They love their people and they want to create security, and their fear is that the security won't happen and that they will be stuck in that fear forever instead of the courage we know they can step into. And the 7 is the adventurer. They bring joy, and they have a fear of being also in that fear group along with the 6s, along with the head types, not being able to get out of disaster and being stuck in without freedom is their worst fear. 8s are the protectors, and they lead with power, and they also have a great desire for not being vulnerable. That is really their worst fear, is when they think of themselves being overly vulnerable, and to attack would be better than to being attacked. So sometimes you'll see 8s as a bit more aggressive for that reason. They maybe have been attacked before and they don't want to go back to it. And last but not least are 9s, who relate to every type. The peacemaker, they harmonize with every type so well because they can relate so well. And they really struggle with feeling like their voice doesn't matter, or that at least their voice isn't heard. So you've heard the highs and the lows of each type. You've heard the different groupings these type can be a part of. Go back to a part of the episode if you feel like you need to come hit that again so that you can come back to your own competency with this. And I welcome you to check out our coaches masterclass. Also, that starts January 30th. And make sure you take a nice deep cleansing breath as you leave this episode. Allow yourself to sit and reflect now. Which type resonates most with you? What about your partner? Take that breath and allow yourself to record that somewhere so you can come back to it for more reflection as needed. If you didn't find your type today, we'll talk to you on Wednesday when we talk about misconceptions. All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.